This video is sponsored by Wix. Go to wix.com/go/simplehistory to create a website now. Dummy tanks. Weird tech. World War II. Dummy tanks were constructed in World War II as a deception tactic to mislead the enemy on the real strength of the Allied forces or the real location of upcoming attacks. Although they were sometimes used for training purposes, dummy tanks were often used for real operations. The first dummy tanks in World War II were built by the 8th Army Engineers and were used in North African campaigns before the Battle of El Alamein to deceive Rommel about the strength and the movements of the 7th Armored Division. These tanks were made of wood and were easy to disassemble for the purpose of mobility. Engineers went even further by putting wooden tank constructions on top of cars and jeeps in order to create the illusion of movement. The use of dummy tanks would be used on a greater scale during the Normandy landing preparations as part of Operation Fortitude, a deception that was set to mislead the Germans into thinking that the landing would take place in Pas-de-Calais instead of Normandy. In order to confuse the Germans, an entire dummy army named the 1st United States Army Group was created that was supposed to resemble General George S. Patton's forces. This time, the Allies were using inflatable tank models as they were easier to build and transport. Dummy tanks were being made on the skeleton of inflatable rubber tubes, which were then covered by rubberized canvas. These kinds of models were easy to make and had less chance of being deflated if hit by shrapnel. The mobility of rubber tanks was excellent, as dummy M4 Shermans weighed only 93 pounds or 42 kilograms when fully inflated. Dummy tanks would be inflated in the middle of the night and could spring up just about anywhere. Once inflated and put in position, dummy tanks were poorly camouflaged in order to be visible for German reconnaissance planes. To make the impression more complete, dummy tanks were followed by real tanks and bulldozers in order to make traces of tracks. Double agents also helped spread false information in order to make the deception more convincing. The success of this fake army helped contribute somewhat to the Germans believing that the Allied invasion would take place at Pas-de-Calais. However, by this time in the war, it was difficult for enemy reconnaissance planes to reach England, and the double agents who were effective at spreading false information to the Germans were the biggest reason for the success of Operation Fortitude. As a result of the overall deception, the German reserves were kept at Pas-de-Calais in anticipation and away from Normandy, where they could have reinforced its defenders. It was so effective that they remained in the region weeks after the real invasion, thinking there would be a second, larger invasion. After D-Day, the Allies continued to use inflatable dummy tanks to deceive the enemy. The task of deception was given to a newly formed unit known as the Ghost Army, who took the illusion to the next level. Dummy tanks were used along with tank sounds emitted from large speakers, enhancing the deception of a real armored unit. The Ghost Army was successful in staging around 20 enemy deceptions after the Normandy landings. Dummy tanks were a creation that helped the Allies become victorious in World War II, and Wix lets you create a site that will help you achieve your goals. Go to wix.com/go/simplehistory to create a professional site that is as quick to assemble as a dummy tank, but as powerful as a real tank. Wix has over 500 templates and will make your site responsive for mobile phones with solutions for e-commerce, music, hotels, events, restaurants, and more. Build your own website and support the Simple History channel by going to wix.com/go/simplehistory or simply click the link in the description below to get started.